And it's with great pleasure that I can again present our next presenter, Wes Sullens, who we met earlier. Wasn't that long ago, Wes. Let me give your formal introduction. Wes Sullens is Director of Codes Technical Development at the U.S. Green Building Council. With over 15 years in the green building industry, he leads efforts to integrate sustainability into building codes and standards. Previously, Wes managed the green building program at Stop Waste in Alameda County, California. He holds a master's in environmental management and is a LEED accredited professional. Wes is known for his expertise in sustainable materials, waste reduction, and circular economy principles in construction. And certainly, we know Wes well because we work with him and the team at U.S. Green Building Council in our longstanding strategic partnership. We have the opportunity to do that, and most recently in collaborating around inputs around material health in the upcoming LEED V5 materials credit. And I think, Wes, that's what you're here to talk with us about today.
Exactly. So let me share my screen here.
I might have to.
And does that look okay?
It looks great.
Great. Well, thank you for having me here, Wendy, and everybody. And again, welcome back to the symposium. I know that sessions just before I've learned a lot, so it's been excellent so far. I wanted to share a little bit on LEED version 5. We're in the middle of a public comment process and balloting of that rating system. So I wanted to share a little bit about where we've been and where we're going in version 5. So without further ado, many of you that have been around this space know that, LEED has been around for quite a while, and we've had version 4 out since 2013, 2014. And we've made updates to that in 2019 with LEED 4.1. And I think there's a story here to tell about materials and products that they have advanced quite a bit over that last decade plus. And so things that were very difficult in the beginning, like EPDs and material ingredients and low emitting materials credits, they have become some of the most popular credits in the rating system today. So you see some of the stats on screen there. And same thing with the sourcing of raw materials credit. That's things like recycled content, sustainable wood, bio-based materials, etc. And so we've had these, since LEED version 4, we've tried to take a more holistic view of products and materials by having things beyond just single attributes and looking at whole life cycle of products and material ingredients and health. And I think in version 5, we want to take that to the next level. So the vision for LEED version 5 materials and resources is to, what you see on screen here, to support and promote low embodied carbon, material health, and circular economy principles across entire product and material life cycles. And how do we do that? Well, you'll see in the rating system, we're really enhancing and prioritizing embodied carbon. That has become obviously a very important indicator for products and materials, and we want to lean into that in LEED version 5 heavily. We cannot forget the circular economy. That's why we have reduce, reuse, and prevent waste, and of course, things like recycling as well. But really, we want to focus on those upstream big changes that also reduce carbon through things like reuse, reduce, and preventing waste. So you'll see more of that in the rating system as well. And most importantly, maybe for today's audience, is optimizing building materials across multiple attributes. So I'll get into a lot more what that means shortly. And finally, this credit category really wants to align with industry momentum. There's been a lot of work showing that all the great things happening in the last decade or so, but we've got to go together to go farther. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's a number of initiatives out there, things like Mindful Materials and the Common Materials Framework and the AIA Materials Pledge have really tried to standardize language around green products and what it means. And we've also been involved and engaged with things like the HPDC, as Wendy just said. They did some work helping us in V5, envisioning what the optimization of material health can look like. And so at USGBC and in the LEED version 5, we're really trying to pioneer and partner those ways of making more common language around these things and terminology. And we've been working with Living Building Challenge and ILFI and IWBI and WELL to do some of that work behind the scenes. And I think you'll see more of that in the coming year. And certainly LEED version 5 will be a first step at really embedding some of these concepts and taking them to the next level. We're also involved in the ECHO project, which is an embodied carbon harmonization and optimization project, it's called, which is a group of standards writers and rating systems and others that are collecting whole building LCA and embodied carbon data and finding ways to standardize the collection and use of that data. So there is just this trend, I think, and it was mentioned early on this session, of radical collaboration. And we're really wanting to lean into that in LEED version 5. So some of the highlights for the materials and resources credit category, as you'll see in the public comment draft out today, I think one of the big stories here is that materials are getting more points in LEED, which is great. I mean, I think that's something we've all been, that have been in this space have been wanting for a long time. And in particular, the interior design and construction rating system is getting a substantial amount of points increase from years past. And that's partly because interior projects tend to not have, sites and public transit, or not public transit, site and location-based credits. They're just not available when you're working on interior scope. So some of those points we've decided to put into the materials category and have a focus on that in the rating system. Another change is that low emitting materials is now located within the MR category. And we have new credits and prerequisites around embodied carbon. So there's a prereq for assessing your embodied carbon impacts, and there's credits for reducing those. Now, those credits primarily focus on structure and enclosure materials, as well as some hardscapes. But it's a very important new set of prerequisites and credits on embodied carbon. Building and materials reuse is now a standalone credit. So that used to be nested within things like whole building LCA, reuse, et cetera. We pulled that out as an additional credit again, and that recognizes not only the embodied carbon benefits of reuse, but also some of the other intrinsic value of keeping materials in use and in process as long as we can. And finally, the credits that are traditionally have been in the materials category, things like material ingredients, EPDs, sourcing, they've been combined into one multi-attribute credit we're calling Building Product Disclosure and Optimization. And I'll share much more about that in a moment. Here's a quick look at the scorecard. I guess before I leave that, just showing the 10 points there for building product disclosure and optimization in ID and C, and some of the other credits there for embodied carbon and et cetera. So slight differences, but a very similar scorecard for the different rating systems. That's something we've also tried to do in LEED version 5, is where the terminology in the rating systems is similar. Why don't we make those the same or similar as much as possible to reduce having to learn these credits over and over and in different ways for every iteration of the rating system. So overall, we're trying to simplify things in the language and the scorecards and throughout. So getting into this credit, BPDO, this is a combined credit, as I mentioned, that rewards disclosure and optimization across the 5 criteria areas, we're calling them, that aligning with the momentum of the materials design pledge and the common materials framework. So you see on the right there a graphic of kind of those 5 buckets that have been used in those frameworks. And this is a new way to categorize the information around products and how product documentation can meet goals within those categories. Now, what we've added for LEED version 5 are kind of scores or achievement levels for products in those different categories or buckets. And those are based on disclosure, verification, optimization. Something that I will share is that while there's a new framework here and you'll see some new ways of categorizing things, by and large, I'd say 80 or 90% of all the documentation is still the same as what it was in V4 and 4.1. So if you're used to finding EPDs and HPDs and declare and cradle to cradle, and you go on and all the low emitting material certificates, all those things that are included in LEED version 4 and 4.1, for the most part, we are keeping those all the same. We're kind of reorganizing and recalibrating a few levels within there, but by and large, the same work can be rewarded in LEED version 5 as in 4 and 4.1. And as a way to simplify, we also are going to create a combined calculator for your low emitting materials and this BPDO credit to simplify the documentation. So as I mentioned, we're providing this kind of scoring of product documentation in version 5. We have these 3 levels that we've defined. And there's a level 1, which is kind of the first steps towards sustainability. And these things will lead to market transformation. So things like getting EPDs, more of them out there in the marketplace, getting HPDs, more of them in the marketplace. We know that leads to market transformation, and it enables more information about products and materials, and lets us optimize and start setting benchmarks and ways to reduce and provide better products. So things like that are kind of a level 1 in this version. Level 2 is the next step up from that. Actual reductions, things that are optimized. We call these a leadership position in the marketplace. It's something that our peers, your peers, would aspire to for achieving. And then we have a level 3 that is largely reserved. So the idea is that there are some great things we want to see and reward in products that might not exist yet. Like this gets into regenerative products or super deep green, carbon storing or green chemistry encompassing products at the highest levels. So those you'll see in the as we score products as we go. So what this looks like is we published a product valuation table, and this has the word draft on it because one of the things we've done, and due to stakeholder feedback, is we had a version of this table that was in public comment 1, but we decided to take it out of the rating system and have it part of the lead development addenda process. So this now lives as a resource. It'll be part of our reference guide, and you can find this in the resources and tips section of the credit library online. But what's important here to see is that we have down the list, again, programs that you'll recognize a lot from lead version 4 of the past. We've added some things that were in pilot credits, like some of the social equity credit, aluminum sewership and Fairstone and those. And we've also, there's a lot of things that are not on this table yet. There are certain multi-attribute standards or other programs that we have not fully evaluated yet. And even the ones you see here that's got the draft on it because it's still a work in progress. But this just gives a sense of how products can be scored within the rating system. And as you see here, there are the criteria areas in the middle. And for each one of these documents, you would go horizontally across and see how that product is scored a level 1, 2, or 3 in each of these categories. And I'll just give an overview of the credit itself. This, I think we could spend a lot more time going through how and having example calculations, and we will do that, but not on today's call. So I just want to give a quick overview of how this might work. There are 2 ways to earn points in this credit. Option 1 is by number of manufacturers. So simply you select products from any product category that's allowed, and as long as there's a unique manufacturer, you can count them in the total of products, and you hit a threshold of 15, 30, et cetera, number of products to get that. Now, the caveat is that any product must demonstrate multi-attributes in at least 3 of those criteria areas. So human health, social health, circular economy, et cetera. You have to hit 3 of those in order to be considered a unique product. Option 2 is a product category approach that rewards project teams for optimizing within a product category. So say the things on the right, if you had all your flooring or all your walls, you wanted to optimize as many as you could of those products, you would compare the number of optimized products against the total for that category of all products and show achievement. And those scores, the levels 1, 2, and 3, become multipliers for those product category achievement. So let's give an example of that. Let's say we've got a product A. This is a very simple example. There's lots more complexity we can add, but a product A has the following documentation. You've got an EPD and an HPD. Very common. Again, these are widely available now in the marketplace. You would look at that and say, okay, an EPD, it shows up as getting a level 1 under climate health because of it's got a disclosure and a value for the embodied carbon, and ecosystem health as well because of all the other impacts that are disclosed in an EPD. And then for the HPD, you're getting that disclosure credit for the human health category. So that credit now, that product now would be eligible under option 1 because it is achieving 3 of the criteria areas. You've got climate health, human health, and ecosystem health. So you're able to add those together. And then also under option 2, it would earn a multi-attribute score of 3. You would add together the levels of each of those criteria areas to get 3. And that product is now worth 3 times its unadjusted value for credit calculation purposes. So it's not that different from how in the past EPDs and HPDs had a 1 or a 1.5 multiplier if you're used to lead of the past. It's just organizing all that in a hopefully more illustrative way and a way to quantify attributes across criteria areas and product categories. So again, this table is available out there. It's published on our website at that online credit library. It's not in the PDFs, but you can find them linked within there as well. I encourage you all to take a look at that. And also, please do comment on lead version 5. We are in the second public comment round right now. It closes on October 28th. And the idea is that once the rating system, once we're finished with public comments, we will refine, make adjustments. We'll see if we need another public comment round. And then we will go out for ballot and member ratification. And by early 2025, we want the rating system to be launched and open and ready to go. And that is it for me. Here's the link to go to version 5's website. And again, you have until October 28th at 5 p.m. to make comments, and we hope you all will do so. We appreciate your help. With that, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks, Wendy.